Warning: this content contains discussions of suicide, severe drug and alcohol abuse, sexual assault, human trafficking, and animal abuse, which some individuals may find distressing. Discretion is advised.
In 2003, I'd actually committed suicide and been brought back to life.
Wow.
So I'd been at this breaking point for many, many years. Honestly, it goes way back to like being 13.
Hi, Mark.
Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Mark. Hey, Mark Hallie.
The Mark Hallie Show.
How did you do it and why? Hey, well, welcome back to the Mark Hallie Show. And we are continuing our discussion on recovery. And the intent here is to help people during the holidays. And we're going to have multiple people in here to talk about recovery. And Jennifer is with us today. So, Jennifer, how you doing today?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Very good, yeah.
Yeah, you got yourself in a little bit of a hassle getting in this morning.
Actually, I did, but you know what's great about that is I got to listen to music the whole time. So, yeah.
So it's okay.
So just more time to dance and love life.
Yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. So I like the outfit. What are they? Reindeer, right? Well, we all got it going on.
Yes.
I got mine on, you know. We're flashing away.
Tis the season.
Tis the season.
Mm-hmm.
So, opening question.
Yes.
Okay. Why did you get sober?
Why? I don't actually know that there's a why per se. I could not live with drugs and alcohol, and I could not live without them.
Okay.
And it just came to a point where it was literally it was a life or death thing for me. I was either going to commit suicide or I was going to die from a needle.
Uh-huh.
And I'd already overdosed quite a bit in my drug use history, and I'd actually in 2003 committed suicide and been brought back to life.
Wow.
And so I'd been at this breaking point for many, many years. I mean, honestly, it goes way back to like being 13.
Really?
And, yeah. And so it was the bottom I had to hit at this, age. I got sober at 44.
Okay.
I'm in the 44 club. But yeah, I just, one day I'd had enough, and the story is like I'd had enough, and I gave my car or my keys to my roommate, and I told her, I said, I'm leaving and I'm not coming back. And she didn't understand that meant I was going to kill myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the truth. That was my understanding of what was going to happen. And I woke up the next day in my bed. No idea how I got there. I had left my home in my car, completely obviously blacked out. I don't even know how I got home and into my bed, but I woke up and I had zero desire to pick up a needle or drugs, and I had lots of them in my room. Like I had tons because I'd spent like $6,000 on them after getting out of rehab, and I'd set myself up for a long haul.
Settle in for just crank it up.
Yeah, and so that need and desire got taken from me.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't my first attempt, like I'd been in and out of rehabs for 3 years, and higher power, spirit of the universe, creator, whatever, decided that the only way that I was going to be able to get this shit was to take that away from me, that desire and need to actually use.
Yeah.
Because with that, I was aimless. There was nothing. I couldn't do anything. Like I couldn't listen. I couldn't hear. I couldn't like do any 12-step program. I couldn't find sobriety at all, or even connect with anything.
Yeah.
And so once that was gone, that was like huge. And then what brought me back was music.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Before I could hit the rooms or anything was I heard my spirit of the universe, creator, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
God, whatever people, whoever wants to. I try not to use a word because there's so many people that listen and not everybody believes the same belief. Knew that was the way to get me. And I heard my life in the songs that came onto my phone. I didn't even have my phone on, and it would just start playing these songs and these playlists, and I was connected like that. One of the things that like I heard was the message of like sobriety and love and joy and happiness and peace and connection in the music, which allowed me to calm down enough to go sit in a room.
Yeah,
and
it's
listen
hard to do. It's hard
another
to
message. And honestly, the thing that also is really cool about that being my main connector was that I could see how that kept me alive throughout my entire life. Out on the streets, like all the places I'd been, I was always listening to music, and it was always keeping me connected in some way, shape, or form.
So let's tumble back here. Where were you born?
Baltimore.
Baltimore, girl.
Bummer.
What? Your early life. Your parents, your upbringing.
So yeah, let's dive in.
Let's have at
Let's
it.
do it. So my family, I have a lot of alcoholics in my family, my mother included, and relatives and things like that. I grew up with brothers and sisters. I have one older sister and two older brother and sister, a twin set. And so that was my family for the first 3 years of my life.
First three.
First three.
Okay.
And then, I mean, honestly, my life changed. My mom brought home a kid she was going to adopt. And he started coming to visit us when I was 3, 4. And then he moved in and my parents adopted him. He ended up abusing me for 12, 13 years.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so
Unbeknownst to, well, obviously unbeknownst to your parents or...
unbeknownst to my dad. My mom is, it's hard to talk about this sometimes. My mom is not a bad person, but she grew up in a family where you didn't talk about anything. You didn't talk about shit. You didn't tell the truth. You didn't talk about any of it. And if we knew the truth, we're just not going to talk about it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so my mom knew there was stuff going on. She didn't know how to handle it. She's an alcoholic. She's, just trying to get by the best she can, I guess. But honestly, it was neglect, right? And I finally told my dad when I was 14.
Wow.
And that's when my life shifted again. Yeah, he was 7, I was 4.
Oh, wow. So already at that age. And that
Yeah.
continued up through
I
early
was
puberty.
almost 15.
Really?
Yeah, and just to get the record straight about him, he came from his dad was a pimp and his mom was a IV heroin user. And so he was what would be considered today alcohol fetal syndrome, but it was drug, stuff. And he did what he knew.
Did either one of you start using at a young age?
Well, he had already been using, and he's the one who introduced me to alcohol at like 5.
5? And were you getting would you say drunk at 5?
I was given alcohol so that I wouldn't, fight what was going on. So, I would say yes, no, right? I mean, the first time I got drunk on my own was between 5 and 6 at a Christmas party, and that was on purpose, full on purpose. And I puked the entire way up the stairs, and my mom carried me to bed because I drank the eggnog with the adult brew in it because I saw how much fun they were having.
Yeah.
And I also knew that the alcohol helped me forget what was going on in my life. Like at that young of age, I'd already figured that out.
Okay. And did mom know you were getting hammered?
I don't know that she did when I was younger, but she did when I was 5th grade. I got kicked out of my very first school dance that I ever went to because I drank a 5th of Jameson's.
Whoa.
Yeah. So needless to say, about like a quarter of the way through the dance, I was crying, I was screaming, I was like telling my whole life story to this mom, and she's like, holy shit. And I went to a Catholic school.
Oh,
so,
here.
Yes. So it was like, whoa, this girl is crazy.
Was dad, what was his hat? Was he getting fucked up? And
Well, he drank, he would have a couple beers here, every night. Never really lit up, except for if we had company, he would get lit up. And we would have this St. Patrick's Day party. And one of the things that was the kicker for the party was like, you were doing shots all night long, and whoever could walk and talk by the end of the night got like a prize. And so, he would, drink and have to recover for days after that kind of stuff, and like Christmas is like that with him. He was like the hard drinker,
yeah,
but not constantly hard drinker,
binge.
Yeah.
And then where's your mom?
She's there. She's being my mom,
Yeah.
She's got a lot of unhealed trauma herself. I mean, it's always hard to talk about family secrets, right? Even though I'm not a secret anymore.
It's yours, but
yeah.
Anyway.
So my mother, I always knew there was something in her life that caused her some tragedy, and like more than what I already knew. And it turns out I had a brother that she adopted out as soon as he was born. She went to go live in a pregnancy home in Ohio, and she never saw him. She never met him. He came out, he went away.
Yep.
And they never talked about it again. My grandma came and picked her up. My grandpa and my grandma, they never spoke of it again. No one in her family knew. Nobody knew until DNA tests were available for everybody.
Oh, really?
And that just happened this year. And then my mom called me first to tell me because she knew how much work I've done in my life to have a really big, compassionate heart, and I could hold space for her.
And that's still very touching, I
Well,
imagine.
what's sad is he killed himself
Oh, my God.
2 years ago, or 2022.
And
He
had you
committed
come to know
suicide.
him by then?
I've never met him.
Well, that's sad,
No, I've
isn't it?
never met him. Not angry at my mom, about it all, because like I totally understand it was a different time back then.
Yeah,
And God, how hard would it be to carry that secret for 50 some fucking years,
yeah.
without being able to shed any part of that?
But for you fell into, at the age of 17, obviously a little more severe crowd.
Oh, I'd already been out there. I'd already been way out there. I was a heavy partier, and my brothers and sisters were too, but they were not alcoholic like me. It was a very different story. And my brother, for a while, went around and told everybody he beat the shit out of him if they gave me any more drugs. Like, that's between 15 and 17, because I was out of control. Like, I was always out of control. But yeah, like I would get brought home by huge giant football players after passing out in the snow from drinking jungle juice all night, and I'd be beating the shit out of them as they're taking me to the door to get my mom to come out and get me out like it's ridiculous how right off the cliff I went, right off, like right away. Like there was never I'm having one drink. It was always I'm gonna have a fifth, or I'm gonna have this, or I'm gonna have that, or I'm gonna do like a whole rail, like bunch of Coke and a whole bunch of this, and a whole vial of acid, and like there was never any stop ever. You know how we alcoholics and drug addicts have other stuff going on.
Yeah.
I have a lot of other stuff going on, and I was diagnosed with anorexia when I was like 13, 14. And so during this high school time, my anorexia came out full force, and I got put in a hospital.
So you were skinny as hell.
Yeah.
Like bone skinny.
Yeah.
And okay, so who noticed that you were anorexic?
Well, my mom and dad, one day, I came home from school and they're like, we're going to see a doctor. And I'm like, oh, what for? And they're like, we're just going to talk about, eating or whatever. I'm like, okay, like, is that all? And they're like, yeah, we're just going to talk to a psychiatrist. Well, that was not true. I was going to the hospital for an assessment, and I did not leave. I was on a lockdown floor where you could not leave.
For how long?
It was about like a month and a half. I was there for Christmas. So it was not cool. And then, when I'm 44, like from 41 to 43, I'm in rehab for 3 years, and I'm in there every Thanksgiving, Christmas, and birthday.
Just like clockwork.
Just like clockwork.
Boom, boom,
Yep.
boom. So how did you, obviously you got past the anorexia?
No,
No?
so 5 years, 3 months recovery from that also. So I'll have 6 years sober, and about 3 months into my sobriety, I was going to die from anorexia. A normal size for someone like me is not going to be a double, triple zero. And I was like this, and my bones were sticking out, and I had 0% body fat. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. When I ate, it didn't stay in me. So I just stopped eating altogether. My body stopped processing food altogether.
But you had to have something just to stay alive.
Well, occasionally I would eat something on a Friday. Like my friend would bring me home pizza. I'd eat pizza, but I would get sick every single time. And so I went to a refeeding program in early sobriety called the Emily program in Seattle.
Okay. Yep.
Saved my life.
Really? Saved your life?
Totally.
Wow.
For the first time in my life, I was actually ready for that. I was ready to stop fighting food, just like I'd been ready to stop fighting alcohol and drugs, right? Like I was ready to be human again. It was a tough life, not eating and like getting sick all the time. And I mean, literally, it's only been a year that my body has been okay. Like we spent this entire time with doctors, nutritionalists, trying to get my biomes correct and like my body processing food and all this stuff for almost 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then eventually in this thing, you go full bore. So was it just, to start, was just a lot of booze?
Well, it was, but I couldn't handle my booze. Like no one ever taught me that shit where you drink in the morning. No one ever taught me that. So I didn't get the whole how to be an alcoholic correctly manual. So, when I was 14, I, went to the doctor and I got a legal prescription for painkillers. And so I got 30 Percocets a month for for as long as I wanted them for period cramps.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes, it was great.
For period cramps.
For
They
period
give you
cramps, yes,
wow, that's
yes,
a little bit of a
yes.
liberal
Way
dose.
liberal. And so, and then there was always pain medicine in my household. My mother suffers from some really bad autoimmune stuff. And so she's not any longer on it, but she had been on Oxycontin since the day that shit came out. And she had been on other oxycodone and other things before that. And I mean, started stealing her meds like very quickly. And my dad will get medications and he's allergic to them, so I would steal his. So like I was constantly on something, usually a pill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was at 17 or so, 16, 17. Oh, 15.
14. Yeah. And then from there, I just, like when I'd run out, I'd take what I could of theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got super addicted to Oxycontin before I had my own prescription for it. When my son was born, I'd gone back to visit my parents. He was like 7 months old, and I just loaded up with hers, with my mom's. I stole them.
How old did you have a baby?
I was 27.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so in between, were you just chewing up oxys?
In between, I was getting fucked up all the time. Like I was doing cocaine a lot. I had a really bad coke problem during college. And that's basically how I got through college, honestly.
So let's kick in. We got out of Western Washington and things accelerate.
Well, yeah. So I moved here with a boyfriend, and he was borderline abusive at times. Like he would do cocaine, he'd hit me or throw me in a fence or whatever. And I met a guy at a party or at a bar at Gus and Knapp's in Bellingham. And this guy was like, he seemed really nice. And like 4 days later, I went over to visit him, and then he's like, "Oh, hey, you want to move in?" And this is, mind you, I'm a full-blown alcoholic at this point. In the process of that day, I went over to go drink a glass of wine, and he asked me to move in. That he beat his dog so bad he split her head open, and that right there, I couldn't leave that. I know it sounds sick, but the dog, I was like, okay, I'll move in tomorrow. And so that
He beat the dog to death.
He split her head open to the bone on the deck because she peed on the carpet. And I wanted to save the dog.
Yeah.
I'm an animal person, and I have a really hard time with that. So I moved in with him, and he is my son's dad.
Okay.
He's, I don't know what he's doing now, but he's a psychopath.
Okay.
So 18 years of my life I spent with him, where he was abusive emotionally, financially. He physically harmed me, strangled me, put guns in my mouth, tried to kill me, went to jail. I had 14 restraining orders against him. I dropped them every time because I was terrified of him. Like that's when I started doing heroin and meth.
And did you end up basically on the street? Is that what
I left because it was safer on the streets to be with the cartel and the other people than it was to be in my home.
And now you're doing a lot of heroin.
Oh, loads of heroin, loads of meth. Yeah.
Do you know when you're doing it that hard that you shouldn't be doing it?
No, because I was groomed, so I didn't even know what was going on. And in this process, I was also trafficked. And I had no idea.
Trafficked?
Human trafficked.
Where?
Sex trafficked. I was Everett, Kent, all over the place. I was not your normal trafficked girl, though. Like I was not trafficked on the streets. I was trafficked to drug dealers.
Okay.
So I was a trade for drugs, or like, it's your turn, you can have her now, or whatever. But I literally did not even know this happened until I went to eating disorder treatment and spent many moments going through therapy. And then they're not allowed to tell you what happened to you. And so I had to piece it together. And then one day I'm like, holy shit. And my counselor's like, what? And you could see her. She's just like, wait. And I'm like, I was fucking trafficked. She's like, yes. And my husband had a part to do with that. My ex-husband had a part to do with that also. And so it was just like it was a pretty tragic ending. Really tragic. A lot of my friends got murdered. A lot of my friends are dead. Friends out on the streets. And a lot of them, people that I knew, are now deported back to Mexico, or they went to jail for life.
Wow. Jail for life.
Mm-hmm.
That's horrible. I do meetings up at the Monroe Correctional Facility.
Yeah.
And you don't get folks like that. I sit there and I look at them and I think, like the one kid was like 33 and he said, I got 18 more years. Yeah. And to me, it was just like, but he was getting an electrician's degree and he was hell bent on getting clean. But there was one guy who just said he'd been there like 23 years. He said, I get out in a week. And I thought, what? Imagine. He's been in there for 23 fucking years.
Yeah.
And now he's coming out. But you never went to prison?
I didn't go to prison. I mean, no.
Prison of your lifestyle.
No, I mean, I got treated very well by cops most of the time. When I got arrested or pulled over, I was very kind. Even in my drug use, I was very kind to the cops. I'm like, I know I did something wrong. Go ahead, like whatever, take me to jail. I get it. Like I was not a jerk like a lot of us are when that happens. And I feel like my great grandpa was a cop, and I feel like his spirit protected me all the time with the cops on the streets. They kind of looked after me. It's weird to say that, but that's what it feels like. I didn't get in like a lot of the shit can problems I could have gotten in. But yeah, so no, I somehow skated by.
Let's jump to, so we're in our mid to late 30s and you somehow in your brain you say, I got to get clean.
Yeah.
And you go off to a rehab. What was that? Sometimes they say there was a moment of clarity or a...
Yeah. Well, there wasn't a moment of clarity. I went to methadone treatment and got replacement therapy instead of trying to get clean. And at that methadone clinic, which was in Canyon Park, they allowed me to continue to use drugs and alcohol while taking methadone.
Nice.
So
they knew this.
They knew this. I was using meth, heroin, alcohol, and I was on 260 milligrams of methadone. So I was allowed to, and they're like, we still need to get you up a little bit higher because it's obviously not working. I'm like, oh yeah, it's not working at all. You're right. Because I'm going to do whatever I can. So I eventually ended up going back on the streets, and then honestly, I can't even tell you how long I was fucking gone. Like, I have no idea. And then one day I just found my way back to my now ex's house and said I need to go to rehab.
Okay, so this is number 2. So you just all of a sudden went, I got to go to rehab again.
And I went to Milam.
You went to Milam? Okay. I speak there. I used to go there quite a bit.
Yeah.
So then now we're back out again. All's good. And we're back again now in rehab.
Yeah, so I've been to 22 different rehabs, institutions, and detox centers here in this area.
Really? Yeah.
And so back and forth stints, like some were a day, some were 10 days, some were, 2 of them are a year long. So yeah, I have a long history of in and out.
So now the third one caught on. Pardon me. When I saw you at the meeting, there was a guy there. Yeah. Is he your husband now?
You might as well say that, yes. So I met him in rehab.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I met him at Milam.
Yes. So let me ask, though, the springboard for the third rehab is you again, just saying, like, I'm off the rails.
Yeah, no, I knew I had a problem. I just didn't know how to stop.
So now you go to Milam. This is round number 3. And what year is that?
2016.
2016. And at that age, you are 63?
37? No, 30. I have no fucking idea. So I'm
you're
50 now. So whatever that is minus now, that's how old I was. So somebody else can figure it out because I can't.
50 minus 6. Let me see. 42.
No, maybe it's possible. Yeah,
could be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right.
No, 44.
No, it is 40. No, 44 is when I got sober. 42 is when I first started going to rehabs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're done that, and now we're out in the clear, and this is the year 2016.
Yes.
Okay, and you come out. You met this wonderful man in rehab.
That's what you'd like to think.
Yeah.
That made a difference.
I thought he was a hunk of burning
He's
love.
awesome, but that didn't matter. It didn't matter. I got out. I relapsed the day I got out.
Really?
Yeah. I went back to my ex's house and I stuck a needle in my leg. And
First
then
day out.
First day out. I mean, I think I was home 10 minutes. The rehabs all saved my life. Very pivotal moments for me, like running away from traffickers or cartel or crime families that I was involved in, all this stuff. Like I would find my way to a rehab and then I would be safe. And it gave me just this little bit of like knowledge and like seeing other people doing something that I wanted, but I didn't know how to get it. And I wasn't really sure if I actually really wanted it.
Yeah.
So no, my last stint in rehab was at Hotel California here.
Yep,
and
I
in
know
California, I went both places because I relapsed midway through my stay for my year-long stay with Hotel. And they sent me out to California to get treatment for my anorexia and for heroin use because I shot up. And I came back And I was there for months, and then they told me I should stay longer, that they didn't think I was ready. And I'm like, oh, fuck you. I'm ready. I'm ready to go out there.
I'm out.
I'm out. But I'd literally been planning my relapse for the entire time. I had a car that VW had recalled, and they were willing to pay me $8,000 more than I paid for it so I could get a brand new car and have like $6,000 to spend on drugs. And I knew that I was going to do this.
Yeah,
right?
you're going to rip right through that.
So I got out in August, and I'd already been smoking like weed. And I think maybe the second week out, I reconnected with my meth dealer and my heroin dealer, and it was off.
Okay, so we went through why, then we did when. Now we're going to say how. In sobriety, what have you used?
AA is my foundation for life, right? I would not be here if it were not for AA. I also do Al-Anon and ACOA, which is for adult children of alcoholics.
Yep.
And I need the trifecta, and it's always been that way my entire life. I've always needed 3 of everything. Like, it's just the way it is.
Go.
And so, so AA gave me this structure, because coming off the streets, I don't know if you know anybody off the streets, but we're like ready to scrap, and like everything's crazy, and like I have really, really, really extreme CPTSD from the trauma experience from childhood to adulthood, and so,
yeah, to say the least.
So
it wasn't a merry-go-round.
Oh yeah, and so even today, I mean, it's not going to ever go away, but I have tools that I've gained. But so AA gave me this really safe space to be, right. And they protected me, and I felt it, and I knew it was, and it gave me this opportunity to stay sober and like get connected even more spiritually. And so it gave me also the right to be me, and me in this day and sober world is pretty kooky. Like, I'm wacko in a good way, right? And so it directed me to all these avenues. Like, okay, now you're going to counseling, and now you're going to do this. And about 7 months in, I was introduced to my friend Lauren, who's a Reiki practitioner.
Okay.
And I started seeing her twice a week for Reiki, and it changed my life.
Really?
Yes. So I decided to get certified in Reiki. And
real quickly, just so Reiki is
energy healing. It's a 150-year-old plus system, not created, but gifted to Usui when he went on a 21-day meditation retreat. Okay. And so he was looking for other alternatives to like Western-y type meds or like surgeries and stuff like that, and spiritual connection. And so he went on this fast and meditated for 21 days and was gifted this system of energy healing called Reiki.
What to explain energy healing?
Yeah,
I mean, I've heard about it, but I mean, just in general.
Yeah. So in general, a practitioner gets attuned to the energy symbols and works with the universe. Like, it's not my energy that's coming through; it's actually universal energy. And so basically, it's a hands-on and hands-off, and it's movement of energy through someone's body. It can help with anxiety, stress, trauma. It does help with medical stuff. I've actually experienced that myself. It can help with emotional distress. It can also just help relax someone or calm them down, or it's like some people just want it so they can have a peaceful afternoon. You know, it's got a lot of different purposes in the healing world.
You came to know about this 21-year-old, this guy who's been doing it for a 21-day walk. And now you become initiated into the Reiki. And now, is this through somebody or
through my friend Lauren? So she went and got initiated with someone, and then she gets to initiate other people. So, I mean, I've been initiated since I was a young kid with all the trauma, and then other traumas that I experienced in my life. Like, one day I was picking up dope from my heroin dealer, and I like turned around to see this guy hit a boxcar, fly up in the air, and come crashing down. And I went and held him while he died. And it turned out his family's in AA. But I went and held him while he died, and that was an initiation into the world also. Things like, it's like really almost tragic things initiate you, like getting struck by lightning. And it just sets you up for this vibratory field to be able to help others kind of like deal with their shadows and their demons and any other trauma-related things that can happen, like people using black magic or words of, evil that get stuck into your body. And like, have you ever heard of the book The Body Keeps Score?
Yeah. I
So
have.
it's a book about complex PTSD, but it also applies to energy stuff. Like if someone calls you a bitch and it's in a very negative way, then that goes somewhere in your body and sticks. And then sometimes you'll hear it or you'll see it or whatever. And so shamanism helps remove those things, and it also helps to connect people a little bit more to the spirit world. Like a shaman walks in between worlds. So I mean, I might be talking to you sometimes, but it's not actually me talking because I'm channeling spirit. It's just the way it is.
And can you feel that you're channeling
Oh
it?
yeah. Yeah.
And does some people accept it and others not? Or
I've not yet met anybody that did not accept it. I mean, how could you not accept it? It's spirit coming through. It's like going to church, like
Yeah.
it's like when I go to a concert, dude, when I go to a concert and the drum beat hits my soul, that's spirit coming into my shaman world and like taking over. And I'm like a dancing medicine woman. It's like crazy. Like I can't even explain it. But it is what I've always been.
but you just were able to find it
Yeah.
and work it.
Yeah.
And that's a huge, so we got AA and you got this spiritual side, this,
Yeah.
I find so many times with people in recovery that, myself included, that you got to give it up and say something drives this thing. Mine obviously was my mother's death. Meeting my wife was all of a sudden, like, oh my God, someone can actually, like, I remember saying to myself, like, don't be a neurotic asshole. Just let her like, she loves you. And I was trying neurotically to screw it up.
Yeah. Of
She didn't
course.
say hi to me. She should have said hi to me. Where's she talking to? Why is she talking to that person? Maybe I shouldn't say hi to her because she's going to think I like her too much. This crazy shit going through my mind. And then after marriage, once I had a daughter, Bridget, I think I saw, and then it was just like, okay, there's a God. This can't be done. I don't care. But he say, oh, it's biological. And my attitude has always been, how is it? Explain to me how it is from the time you see her little head crowning till the time she comes out. You have fallen, boom, infinitely in love. And I realized something miraculous. I looked at something that I could not possibly explain. And I guess that's this whole spirituality that you're looking at, something that you just feel, it's in you, it drives through you.
Yeah, the funny thing about what you just said is for me, so many times in my really dark days of using and alcoholism, I literally saw what some people would say are hallucinations, but they weren't. Because when I got to AA, I saw those people. Like literally in some of my darkest moments of getting the shit beat out of me or getting so drunk I was pissing my pants or whatever it was, I couldn't hold my head up. I'd look out on my porch and there would be an old timer in AA standing there. But I didn't know that's who he was until I met him. And many times when I was out on the street and when I was younger, when I was 16, I saw, my partner's name is Joel. I saw him. And when I was on the streets, that kept me alive. Like the kindness in his eyes was sent from above, right? Like that was something that I cannot explain because nothing had hit me like that before. And then when I met him in rehab, like he came in and I saw him and I'm sitting there with people that had come in to get me out. Like the traffickers had come back in to get me out and I see him walk by and whatever it was about him just grabbed me and he sat down. I sat down next to him. I looked in his eyes and I was sprung, like done. Like I loved him. I didn't know how to stay sober, but I knew I loved him. It was just an immediate gift, right? It was meant to be. It's like what it was.
Wow.
And that kept me kind of, whatever looks after me knew that I needed some physical something to draw me in deeper. And so that, they sent Joel. And luckily I was able to get sober because there was times I couldn't and he had to let me go. He had to give me to his God because he knew I was going to die. The way I used drugs, I was going to die. And so he let me go. And that gave me the opportunity to find my God.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Jenna.
Yes.
Or Jennifer.
Either or.
And, it's weird. Okay, I meet you. Yeah. And right away I'm like, God, I got to get her on my show.
Yay.
And it was just a cool feeling that somehow you were unique. And that's 37 years of being in recovery. And you don't see a lot of people that right away you look at them and you just go, that person has something to say. Yeah. And not to mention your outfit. I loved your clothing. I loved it. And now we're going to close out. You got your little
crystal.
Crystal. Yeah.
Yeah. This is angel connector. This is light and dark connector. And this is just spirit.
Hold them up for a second. What's the first one here?
This one's an angel connector.
Mm-hmm.
This is light and dark. This is like the connection between light and dark, keeping you whole. And this is just a spirit connector.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Hey, so with that, I want to let everybody know we've had Jennifer on here with us, Jenna, as she's known in the rooms.
Jenna Sky on Facebook.
Jenna Sky on Facebook.
That's right.
Sky as an SKI.
Yes.
Right on.
Yes.
And let's go check that out. And, you know, we're doing this. We're going to do it several times. They're all going to run in December because December is a really tough time for recovering people. We all know that. And, you know, and you've been a great, great guest. I think you bring a whole new sort of perspective and a grueling story.
Can I say one more thing real quick?
Absolutely.
The communities I'm involved with, they're like my spiritual communities. There's one in Everett called Awaken Yourself. That's where my shaman mentor is, Allie. And it's crazy because Everett is one of my deepest trauma places. And I've finally been able to heal because I found spiritual community like home everywhere I go. And it gave me that too.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So for those of you out there who may be suffering here in December, fight through it. It'll be better. Holidays are just holidays. They're no other day than the last one, but they can be painful.
Mm-hmm.
They can be very painful. Well, look, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Mark Halley Show. If you found this story as intriguing as we did, give us a like, share the episode, and subscribe at The Mark Howley Show. New episodes every other Friday. Adios.